Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. So glad you're here and listening to the podcast. I say it all the time and I will continue to say it. I really appreciate you for listening in. And because you've been such faithful listeners, we've been ranked in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. So thank you so much. Continue your support, rate, subscribe, review. We hear those things all the time, but it really would make a difference. All right, so I can't wait to get into today's conversation. Today, I'm talking with Valerie Sandjivy. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Valerie. She's an adaptive leadership mentor and business coach with over 2 decades of experience under her belt. Valerie is the founder of Ellipsis, where she helps executives, C-suite leaders, and entrepreneurs step into their power with more emotional intelligence, adaptability, and innovation. Valerie's unique method combines self leadership, emotional mastery, and soul care. She helps leaders rethink how they lead, grow, and show up. And she's someone who's deeply committed to evolving what leadership can look like, not just in business, but in life. Welcome, Valerie Sanjeevi.
Thank you, Robin, for having me in your show.
I'm
It's
so glad you're here. All right. And I'm just excited that you took the time out. We have a difference in time, and you're calling in from Paris,
great. Yes.
France. And so that's a real commitment and dedication. And I'm here in Los Angeles. All right. So now you've heard me just say a little bit about a little bit of an introduction, but why don't you tell us in your own words what you like to share about you and or your work?
Yeah. The way I like to introduce myself is like I'm saying, you know what? I am a human being who's trying to figure out what life is about. That's really what it is. And lucky me, I have a soul who knows better and is trying to lead me. Even sometimes my human being is on the way, but my soul is trying to lead me. That's the way I like it to introduce myself. But aside of that, I'm an engineer. I have a master degree in a business school, and I spent 20 years in different corporate positions up to C-level. For example, I was the head of the business unit when I was working in Detroit, Michigan. I was VP of sales and I was managing 100 millions of euros when I was in France. So a big account, a lot of money. And this was, my path when I was working in the corporate career. I did that for 20 years. I work in automotive and in healthcare. So very masculine way, and then very feminine because healthcare is usually more feminine women, more women, in employees. And today I've been so I started my business 11 years ago, which I did not know I was going to do that. We are going to go and tell you. I'm going to tell you the story. And today I'm a leadership mentor and a business leader. And I'm here really the way I want the way I see it is like I'm really here to inspire people to lead themselves. So they lead themselves, because that's important in their mission. And I do that by expanding the consciousness and by activating people. Only being in my field, people are getting activated. I see that all the time. And for me, it's like basically what I mean by leading your mission is like stepping out of how can I say that? Stepping out of life is doing that to me. To I'm going to the creation mode, and I love the creation mode. Since I understood what it what it means, I love it now. So that's
I love that.
basically who I am and what I do.
I
And I
love
live in
that.
France, in Paris.
Yeah, and of course I love that because that's why we're here because we kind of at that same kind of like-minded thinking, right? You're like what life is for you, right? It's
Yes.
not happening to you. Love that. Yeah. And leading your life and yourself so you can lead others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now let's where should we begin? Let's just go back. You said you started this business 11 years ago. All right. So let's start there. And then maybe I might go back earlier or jump forward or go back and forth. But since you brought that one up now, let's talk about that one. Tell us about what led you to start the business 11 years ago.
So, really nothing. When I left the corporate world, it was like I was done with the last position I had, and they wanted to keep me. And I said, you know what? I think there is something else outside. I thought I was going to work for another company, doing, another position, which I was happy to. But life didn't say that to me. Life decided a different way. My soul decided a different way. And it decided like, okay, let's do a coaching training. I don't know how it came to my mind. Really now, even
Wait
now,
a
I
minute.
don't know.
Wait a minute. Out of nowhere, you hadn't
Yes.
thought about it. You were thinking about you're going to go to another corporate position,
Yeah.
and suddenly
It's crazy,
coaching
yeah.
training comes to your mind.
And as I always follow what my intuition was, I always did that. If something was, the common thread in my life, I always followed, what was showing up, in the field, in the in the area, in wherever you want, like the ideas. It's like, okay, do a coaching training. Why do I want to do a coaching training? I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to start my own business. I don't know. I was not part of a
Wow.
family where we build business. It's like my parents, they have, their work. They were, employees all their time. All my family, they are, we work, for someone. Nobody in my area was here to tell me, okay, you can be an entrepreneur. I don't think I even knew the name entrepreneur at that
That's
time.
incredible.
It is. So, you follow a path and you don't know where it's going to bring you, but you follow, And then, always told myself that kept me, going. Valerie, you have a lot of skills, 20 years, in different corporate settings. You have a lot of skills. So if at one point, coaching is not, your gem, then you will go back, and do project management or sales or whatever you've been doing. You're an engineer, so you can do whatever. But of course, it didn't happen like that. So then after that, I am all in start your business. I said, what in the world is that? So I'm starting. I said, but how do we start a business? I didn't know. I didn't have a figure, in my environment, in my life, people that who did that. So I started, the first business. So I meet people, and then of course life is showing you people when all of a sudden you don't know where they're coming from. So I'm starting this new business. And a friend of mine that I met, during my coaching training said, oh, okay, you know what? While you are building your coaching business, if you want, to train people, on different stuff, management, on leadership, on whatever, we have plenty of work if you want, to do. I say, okay, in the meantime, we have to eat, in the meantime that you're building your business.
Right.
So again, I was lucky. I feel I was very lucky. So I'm starting that and I'm building, my business and building the audience and little by little. And for me, really, it's like I had the first company, then I closed the first one, I started on the second one, closed that one, started the third one, but all the time to do the same thing around leadership, around business coaching, around coaching and mentorship. Of course, the names changed, but it was almost all that all the time. But at the beginning, I was more like working on healing what was wrong. You face something in life and healing what was wrong. And I went into the path of that. I did that for myself, and I was doing that for my clients because they were asking for that. And then at one point, I said, you know what? I can dig, there will always be something wrong, and we can always find something wrong. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So I shifted and I said, you know what? If I'm able to go in the depths of what I could see in people in clearing and healing, if we can say that word, I can go in the same depth as expanding because I could see it. But at that time, I didn't know I could see, both. I could see what was wrong. But I said, okay, if I can see what is wrong, I can see what is possible as well. So I shifted, and it's not only, positive thinking. It was not only that, it was really a mind shift. That's why I said, getting out of the victim mode, which is, we are all victim, It's like, I'm not pointing fingers, we are all victim. because we are put in that situation, in this mindset. And I said, okay, let's switch and go to the creation mode, which is more something where we can play. And let's switch that. So that's what I did. And then suddenly, life is changing again because, I'm taking, the nuggets and I'm doing something. I'm That's something else I want to say is that each time I was told to do something, I did it one step. And then the second step that I didn't know what it was showed up. But of course, my man wanted to know the 12 steps, to go all the way.
That's a nugget for people listening. You took just the first step. You had enough information just for the first step and you didn't worry about it. And then the next step came and the next step. And you said you did that each time. So
Yes.
that's a valuable lesson for people who are listening because, like you say, we do tend to, especially those of us who are high achieving women, we want the whole plan laid out. We want the 12 steps, the 2 years, the 5 years, the whole thing,
Yes,
right?
the 5 years
And
plan.
so, but you did that with just that one step each time. So good for you for
And
doing that.
yeah, but I'm not going to lie to the audience. The first company that I built, I was trying to find, to build the 12 steps. But then each time that I was building and trying to build, all the steps, I could see that when I was finally taking the first one, the second one was definitely not what the one I was thinking it was going to be. So I said, you know what? You never did that when you were in corporate. You never did that when you were in corporate. You know what is going to be my career, what I want to do, what I did not, mean to go to Detroit. I didn't mean, to be, managing, $100 million, euros, but it's the same basically. And I said, you know what? It was shown to me. So let's do the same. But it's less easy when it's your own business because, you still want to eat at the end of of the day. But I said, I have to have faith, which is hard,
Yeah.
which is hard. But
Yeah.
actually, if you let intuition, because usually we have good intuition. Women, we have good intuition, but we don't listen to them. And men, they have good intuition, but they listen to them. You know why I know the difference? Because when I speak with a lot of leaders and a lot of men as well, because I work with men as well. I don't work only with women, but I love both. And they always tell me, of course I have intuition. Of course, when I'm in the shower, something is coming up. Of course, when I'm going on the treadmill or I'm going for a run or playing golf or whatever, of course I have intuition. But they don't spread it around. They don't say it,
Oh,
but they do
I
have
see.
them.
Yeah,
You
and
see
you're
the
right.
difference?
You're
Yeah.
right. And just giving those examples, we probably, people listening right now, we know like conversations with men that we know, always this idea came in the shower or like running or on the treadmill or any of those
Driving
things. Yeah,
or,
driving. Yeah.
cooking.
Yeah. It's just a good point. They don't talk about it as intuition. All
No.
right. But now that we're on the subject of intuition, let's stay there for a minute. Now, let's go back. All right, to the beginning of this idea that popped in your mind. First, do the coach training, and then next it was going to be start the business. Now, you said that you kind of had this understanding and intuition. Is that intuition something that you've had since your early days? Like, were you already in the habit of recognizing that you had intuition and then following it?
But yes, that's a great question, actually. At that time, I wouldn't call them intuition. Like I'm going to give you a couple of examples because I think that it could serve the audience. When I decided to go to the engineering school, it was not, a desire from me. The way I did it is like everybody was doing that. I said, okay, I'm going to do that as well. I wanted to be a doctor, actually, I didn't want to be an engineer. And then, life was not showing the path for doctors. My parents didn't want to. It was kind of difficult. They said it's so many years to study, and I'm happy I didn't do it. So I followed, the path of my friend. We were doing. Everybody was doing engineer. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then, after that, I did a master degree, but it's not something I planned. Each time that it was shown on my way. So the way we want to see it is like, is it life putting that on your way? Is it an intuition that you have to do that and life is putting that on your way? It's kind of, both ways. It's because something is telling you, that's why I speak about the higher self. I like to speak about the higher self, leadership. This is not the mind leadership. It's really something else is guiding you. And do you follow it or not? Because whatever your higher self is telling you is to put you, and I really trust what I'm going to say right now, is to put you in the training zone of what you have to bring to the community later on. But you don't know when. So I've been trained. For me, the way I see that, I follow the steps. Go to Detroit, come back, go to Japan, go to Brazil. That's what my life. Okay, don't you want to do the sales position? Of course I want to do the sales position. Over each the time, life was showing me something, and I had the intuition to say yes. But was it the intuition before that life showing that? That I can't say, but for me, it works, together. It's because you have something within you that we don't know what it is telling you something, and then suddenly it's showing up. Like when you have a friend, you think about this one, and then she calls. You think about, I would like to eat strawberries, and sure enough, you go to the market, strawberries are all around. That's the way it is. So is it life showing you, or is it your intuition creating that? For me, it works both ways. It works together. Because what is life is our soul. It works together. And this is what intuition. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's the way I
It
want to
did, it
bring
did,
it.
and I can relate to it very easily, but I'm imagining some people don't. So I want to speak for the people who it might be a little bit more of a challenge. But
Yes.
like you and my friends tell me all the time, I always say, "Can you believe this?" And it's always like this, super coincidence or this thing like what you're talking about. And they say, "Yeah, that happens with you all the time." They're always like, now it's old news, like, "Yeah, that happens with you all the time." So I understand what you're saying. However, I know there's some people who may feel like that doesn't happen to me. It
Yes.
sounds like in the way that it happened for you, and sometimes it happens for me. And you make a distinction between life. You said it's like this balance of life and intuition. So now let's take the person who, like, well, I don't have a whole lot of that experience.
Mhm.
When they think, well, is that just my circumstances guiding me? And what if there's a circumstances that led them to maybe not the best thing that happened to them, something that caused them pain or hurt? What do you say to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, for me, it's everybody. First of all, I want to say, before I'm going to answer the question, that first of all, everybody has intuition, everybody has a soul, everybody can be guided by life. Now, do we listen to that or not? That's a different question. And of course, our mind is on the way. Of course, our ego is on the way because we feel that our ego, our mind knows better. I've been there, so I understand that. So to answer the question is like, for me, it's like, what are the circumstances? What is the way I see it? It is, I am, a movie star, and this is my movie. So what are the characters, So today you are a character in my movie because we are speaking, but my families are characters, my friends are characters, my coworkers are characters, everybody who have been or are still in my life are characters of my movie. And what do they tell me? What do they show me? I have a happy life, with nice friends, or do I fight all the time with my friends? Is it because of the friend or is it because of me? And for me, it's really see the circumstances and not judging us that I created that. No, 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 don't go down that road. Come back here. It's not you who created that. It's not to punish you, but it's just showing you, maybe there is a misalignment there. Because nobody wants, to be in a bad situation. But this is just to tell you, watch out. You are on the wrong path. It's like, you are with Waze, you are right, you are on in the car, and then suddenly Waze is saying, make the first U-turn, make the first U-turn, make the first U-turn. And he keeps repeating that. What is it in our life? It's like life showing us, the same thing. One person, this morning told me, that I was not nice. And this tonight, my children told me that I was not nice. And then, my husband, at night told me that I was not nice. I said, oh, that's a whole lot of people telling me that I'm not nice today. So what are the circumstances? Not that I deserve any of them. Don't go down that road. No, 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 because it's going to be the victimhood. So don't go there. Life is showing you what is not aligned. And sometimes, I'm sorry, but we have to say that sometimes life is showing you that a very hard way, very hard way. So I'm very careful on what I'm saying, and I feel very sorry for people who are going through a rough path. But for me, every rough path is because there will be a wisdom out of it. How many people, they had, this, life, and something happened and they were like near to death, and then they came back and they were this best person who were able, to explain something to the world. So I'm not saying we deserve anything that we are facing. I'm not saying that. But this is for me really what we are trained to be better at. And the more we overcome the situation that is in your movie, the more we are prepared for the next version of us. And
Makes
some
sense.
of us choose a very strong, very difficult path. We have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate you for acknowledging that, especially for those who are going through those difficult times.
Yeah.
All right, so now that was intuition. Now let's talk about purpose.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're living in your purpose now?
Yes, very much. Today I can say 100% I was there, but was not the case all the
Okay, so how did you get from out of purpose to in your
time.
purpose? That's my shorthand way of saying it. There was a time in your life you said, "No, I wasn't in purpose, but now I am." So how'd you get there?
But let's reflect what I just said. At the beginning, I did not know what was the purpose. And then after that, I actually started, I want to say like 6 years ago, when I thought, okay, now I understand my life. But I was all the time in the purpose because I was trained to be what I am today. So let's give an example because we like examples. So, like, I was always the one when I was in my corporate positions, always the one to innovate, always the one to work on the new big product, not the small product, not a pen, the big car product, new product that was never done. The one opening the business unit in the US, the one stepping foot in Japan where our company was not, positioned, the one going to Brazil and to work, on this, plant. Then in healthcare, the one to open this new facility where we're building new chemotherapy product, which was not done in France. It was always in the hospital. Now we did it outside of the hospital. It was always something new, something new. And each time they would come and ask me. Even when I was in the sales position, it was to work with a client where there was this big crisis. Nobody could get out of this crisis. It was, something that nobody never ever did. So I come in. Each time I'm there, to solve issues, to do innovation, to be trained for that, to start over, to grow the team. And I say that over and over and over and over again. I say, okay, there must be something there, you know. So now I'm here, like 6 years ago, and I say, you know what? Let's look again, one more time. What was the path? What was the path? What was the common thread? And then, suddenly it hits you, But I was there, to lead myself in all of those situations, to show that we can, become stronger because we've been in those situations. So I'm leading myself. People would tell you, it's easy for you to go and work in the US. I would like to do the same. I said, but you just come. We need people if you want to. And no, but I understand. I have a family. I can't quit my family. I said, bring your family. No, my family doesn't want to move. I said, but I didn't say that. I was okay. I go. No, tell me I'm going. I'm packing my stuff. So for me, it's like kind of like the sense of purpose was really, I'm leading myself. I'm leading myself. Life is like the box of chocolate, in Forrest Gump. Life is a box of chocolate and you never know what you are going to take. But are you eating still the chocolate? Yes, I pick one and I'm eating it. And I lead myself whether I like it or not. Because if I don't like it, it means I'm going to become stronger out of it. And if I like it, it means that, okay, I already have the skills, so I can just be I'm better, like I can master it.
Yes.
So that's what it is. And so I can lead myself. And so I can help people to lead themselves. But in doing what? Not to do necessarily the corporate job, but I don't judge the corporate job. We need people for everything. We need people for everything. So for me, it's really to lead ourselves to be the best in our mission.
Mhm.
And usually what I like the way I like to explain it is with the orchestra. You know, in orchestra, you have like different musicians, different people, you know, different instrument. So you have the violin, you have the guitar, you have the bass, you have whatever, you know, the flute. Everybody's supposed to play their instrument and their note. And if someone is not doing that, it's what we call the chaos. But if everybody doing their note with their instrument, which they are good at, then it's a nice harmony. And that's what I want to help people with. It's like lead yourself not to copy whatever your neighbor, your coworker, your spouse, or your friend is doing. No, 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 no. Stop copying. We have to stop copying. We have to do what is, you know, within us. What is it within us that we are good at and that we want to master, because if we master it, we can bring it to the world as a service.
Yeah,
That's really
that's
what
right. Right. And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I say the same thing. We already knew we were on the same wavelength about that. But one thing I want to point out that you're gifted at that you kind of went over very quickly that might not come easily to everybody else or some other people, maybe to some and not to some others. You stopped at these different intervals in your life and work and said, let me look and see what's happening here. And you
all the
looked
time.
at what you were doing. And then after you looked at what you were doing, let's call that reflection, did some reflection, some introspection, and said, look, these are patterns. This has been happening all along. You were expressing those parts of yourself in corporate before you went on to the business, and then developed a business around those same gifts, strengths, natural abilities that you had.
Yeah.
So, but you had the either the gift or the wherewithal or experience to look at, stop and do the reflection. So I'm saying that for people who are listening, sometimes when we say reflection or stop, it seems like, "Ah, I don't have time to think about myself. I'm busy, or, what's the point of that?" But there really is value in that. And your story is an example of that.
And I am 100%, I mean, I 100% agree with you. You know why? Because it's in the pause that something is happening. And you know why? I want to explain that for the audience to make it clear why it's in the pause. It's like for me, and you're right, I've been doing a lot of reflection and a lot of contemplation. It's part of my soul care, you know. I reflect on everything that happened, you know, every day if I have time. If I don't have time, like tonight is going to be late, so probably I won't do it tonight, but definitely tomorrow or at the end of the week, you know, I always say to my family and to everybody, okay, I need 2 hours, you know, like you don't speak to me, no phone, because I want to have time to reflect, you know, to contemplate.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, yes, what is in the pause? When we are in the pause, what does it mean? It means that there is nothing. In the pause, there is nothing. It's like when you play music, like we were speaking about music, in between the notes, there is nothing. You know, there is this emptiness. And because there is the emptiness, there is the pause, then something else can happen. Something else can drop. If we are always full, 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 like a glass of water, if the water is always full in the glass, there is no more room, you know, for another drop. In the pause, it's when we bring space for something else to arrive, to land, and then we can do something with it. You know, we can have a full day, you know, women were good at that, you know, from 6, from 6 to 9, we can be busy every single minute doing a lot of things. But I think the more we are going to learn to pause, and it can be only 5 minutes, it can be only a breathe. I'm going to breathe just right now. I have so many things to do. Okay, just stop, breathe, and go. That's take few seconds, you know. And because we do that, then we bring the space. So if we don't like the word pause, which we might not like, I want to offer the community another word, which is space. If you don't like the word, how can you have space? Like when you're full, you ate, you know, a full meal. You don't want dessert when you had have a full meal. But how can I leave room for dessert? So what do? I eat a little bit less of the steak or the fish or whatever, vegetarian, whatever we eat, you know. So I don't, you know, I don't, you know, eat the full dish. I'm saving space for dessert. Do we say that? Yes, we say that. So it's the same, you know, for that. How can I bring space? If we don't like pause, think space.
Like that because they kind of go together. We talked about the reflection, and you're talking about pause, but that brings the space, and you can't have one without the other. But the pause is something you can do, like you said, just 5 minutes. If you just have a short amount of time and you don't have the 2 hours, like you can give yourself for
No.
reflection. Have a routine, I would say. Get in the habit of having that pause and opening up that space so
Yeah.
you can come in to your own thoughts. I
Which is
mean,
very much the feminine energy, and when we think about,
mhm,
because masculine is doing and feminine is not. It's like we feel being is doing nothing. Actually, we are not doing nothing. We are receiving
mhm,
something else.
yes,
And I think it's time that we rephrase all those words as well, because we feel that if I'm in feminine, I'm doing nothing. That's wrong, women. That's wrong. Actually, you are doing a lot. You are receiving the new creation. You are receiving the new seed. You are receiving everything else that is going to change our life.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, you've given us so much to think about, and what I'm calling them nuggets, like treasures, right? But let me just ask you the question so people can get it explicitly. All right, so that you've been listening to the podcast, so you know it's for high achieving women. And she's at a point where she's like, there's something missing. I'm looking for more purpose and meaning. I have all the things, success, check the boxes, promotion, but something is missing. Now, you gave us some tools already, but what's something else you could give to her as she's listening now, in her quest for having more fulfillment in her life through purpose and meaning?
Yeah, I know this is one of your signature questions, and I love this question, and I was eager for you to ask me this question. For me, it's like find in everything that you are doing for work or whatever in your position, find the one or the two things that you like. Take a step with those skills that you like. You like to do that, and you are happy doing that. Take a step toward how you can bring a little bit more of that in your business, in your life, in your journey, whatever. Find what you are good at, what you like to do, and do a first step in the direction of this is going to be more of what I'm going to do every day. Then the second step is going to show up. Really, that's what I like to say. And little by little, you will see that what we are good at and that we are going, to more master and master even more. That's how we serve the world at the end of the day.
Yes,
What we
yes,
are good at. That's as
yes.
simple as that.
I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. And I think that's a wonderful advice for somebody to get started right away. Right?
Yes.
And it's kind of fun to think about what you're good at because it makes you feel good when you think about it and even when you do it. So that's wonderful. All right. So like we said before we started recording, we can talk all day, but I know
Oh, yeah.
it's way past bedtime for you or near bedtime, depending on what time you go to bed. Before you leave to go on to the rest of your evening, tell people how they can be in touch with you if they want to hear more about you and your work and what you're doing.
So the best way is to go on my website, which is ellips.us.com. And from there, they can find my social media. They can have freebies. They can have, leadership assessment. They can have activations for free. They can contact me from there. Everything is there. They can find me. They can find my podcast as well, which is really around leadership. And you are on the purpose with leadership. I'm pretty much on how do we build everything that I just said,
Yeah.
from there. So there is a podcast as well. So there is everything is there. Otherwise,
Okay.
you can find me on social media as well, and it's easy. Yeah.
Where do they find you on social media?
Yes, on
It's
LinkedIn or Instagram, it's always the same name, but the best way is really my website,
okay.
ellipses.com, us.com.
All right. And I'll spell the website because somebody's like in the car right now and they're like,
Yes.
wait, I want to write it
Wait,
down.
I want to write it down.
ellips.us.com.
Yes, thank you.
ellips.us.com. And you can find Valerie there. Valerie, it's been a delight as we knew it was going to be. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for being here at the very end of your night, all the way from Paris, France. Really appreciate you for sharing your wisdom and your growth and your purpose journey. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Robin. Just one last phrase. What I want to say to the audience to finish, to conclude, all bad things come to an end as well. Because we always
Yes.
say all good things come to an end, and I want to change the mindset and leave the audience with that. All bad things come to an end as well.
All bad things come to an end. It's true. We've lived through them, right? We're still here and they're over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Thank you.
dropping that last nugget. You couldn't let it go. He's like, I got one more
No,
thing.
I want to say. Thank you
Or
so much, Robin.
thank you, Valerie, for being here. And for everyone, I'd love to hear your response to the any aha moment you had from our conversation or any thought you have. And if you want more from me, head over to the podcast website, leadershippurposepodcast.com. Leadershippurposepodcast.com, and you can get more from me. And I'd love to have you connect with me on LinkedIn. Just connect or follow. Uh, there, I'm at Robin L. Owens, PhD, Robin L. Owens, PhD, as well on the other socials. But I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll have some more resources for you on the website. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin.